Let me start with a statement that may be uncomfortable, but absolutely necessary. Most manufacturing plants don't underperform because they have the wrong technology, outdated machines, or challenging market conditions. More often than not, they underperform because their leadership is weak, exactly where execution must be the strongest. And this isn't an indictment of the frontline workers or the equipment. It's a spotlight on fundamental leadership gaps that undermine everything else. So we live in an age where plant floors, are flooded with the latest technology, robots humming on the lines, sophisticated ERP systems, churning data and predictive maintenance sensors promising zero downtime. Yet, despite all of these advancements, plants are still underperforming. Why is this? It's because leadership, the very catalyst that turns vision into reality, is supposed to transform technology and talent, combine them for consistent results, but it's being overlooked and underdeveloped. You see, I've witnessed firsthand for more than 20 years how organizations pour millions into new equipment, fancy consulting services, complex software systems, endless reporting dashboards, all in a hope to close the performance gap. Yet, time and time again, those shiny investments fail to move the needle. Why? It's because no amount of technology can compensate for supervisors and managers who lack clear communication skills. Managers who can't consistently set expectations and hold people accountable, or who just won't hold people accountable, they can't build trust and they can't ignite or create sustainable change on the plant floor. Now, if you wear the badge of a leader, a supervisor, a plant head of operations, any leadership title, this episode is tailored for you. So this very day, I'm going to start to expose the real leadership shortfall inside of many manufacturing operations. And I'll explain why it keeps good plants from becoming great. And I'll also share why evidence belongs to those who commit to leadership. And what I mean is those who've committed to development, learning, and taking a good handle on the tools that I'm about to provide. These are the guys that have, they have the fruit. So this isn't theory. This is a practical, hands-on plant leadership in the fast, furious, and unforgiving environment, which is manufacturing. This is unmistakable. The difference between teams that wait to be micromanaged and teams that move decisively with purpose, it boils down to culture. And it's not the culture of finger pointing and blaming and saying you should have did this or you should have did that. It's way deeper than that. This is about ownership and real leadership. Now let me expose the leadership lie. Hard work does not equal good leadership. If I had $1 for every time I heard someone say, he's a hard worker, he'll be a great supervisor, I'd be paid, I'd be able to retire right now. Simple as that. So I've been in leadership development programs and I've heard the hard truth over and over again. Being a strong individual contributor, no matter how skilled or dedicated, does not automatically translate to effective leadership. Oftentimes, it does not translate. In fact, it can be a fast track to weak supervision that a person never learns to communicate. They never learn how to set clear expectations. They never learn how to build trust. They never learn how to lead diverse teams and coach diverse personalities, let alone think beyond the immediate task. They have no foresight because they haven't been trained and developed. And we've all seen companies that promotes the person who clocks the longest hours. They know the machines inside and out. They push the product. They understand the quality. But then they scratch their head when that same person struggles to inspire, discipline, and teach their team. So here's another hard truth. Doing the hard work and leading the work are fundamentally different skills. So this disconnect becomes painfully visible under the relentless pressure of manufacturing customer demands. Customer demands never ease up, okay? Margins are wafer thin. Labor pools fluctuate. The labor pool is super shallow right now. Quality defects add up. Safety lapses are unacceptable. Turnover disrupts flow. And yet leadership that can weather these storms is the critical differentiator. When supervisors can't communicate calmly under pressure, the whole team feels it. When managers fail to set consistent performance standards, morale and productivity erode. When leaders react emotionally or inconsistently, the entire culture fractures. A fracture that shows up in scrape rates, scheduled misses, unscheduled downtime, absenteeism, the blame game, and low morale. These are all the fruits. So think about that young supervisor that you work with early in your career. Let's call him Joe, right? Joe was promoted because he was the most knowledgeable technician on the line. He knew every machine, every product, every detail. But when he became a supervisor, everything changed. He struggled to have tough conversations. He didn't set clear expectations, and he often avoided conflict in order to keep the peace. His team delivered inconsistently. The quality and overtime ballooned because the mistakes piled up, and Joe worked harder than anyone. But his leadership didn't improve the results. Why is that? Because leadership requires a different skill set, a skill set too often neglected, too often overlooked. Leadership in manufacturing is not a soft skill, it's an operational imperative. It's the linchpin determining your processes, determining if your processes run discipline or descend into chaos, period. It's the difference between employees coming forward with problems early or hiding issues until a customer experiences the failure. It's why good people stick and grow or burn out quick. Good people will either stick around and grow or they'll burn out quick. Okay? Here's 7 realities for you. Manufacturing leadership will take you 7 essential realities. All right? Buckle up. Let's go. Okay. So, number 1, these realities underpin effective manufacturing leadership today. These aren't theoretical ideas, they are hard earned truths that you need to internalize if you want to bridge the leadership gap and bring the plant back up to exceptional, ratings. Period. We don't want to be good, we want to be exceptional. We want to be the standard. Here's number 1. Results come through people. I'm going to say it again. Reality number 1 is results come through people. At its core, manufacturing doesn't run on machines, it runs on people. You can have the best technology in the world, but if your people aren't engaged, motivated, and aligned, results will falter. Real leaders understand that people don't just comply with orders, they commit when they feel valued, respected, and connected to with a clear purpose. People want to feel as though they're a part of the mission. They want to feel the connection. So consider the way trust builds between leaders and operators. Here's a story. I once worked at a plant where a language barrier existed between English-speaking supervisors and Spanish-speaking line workers. So instead of mandating compliance, the supervisors took turns, then they took the time to learn basic Spanish greetings. They listened to their people, they used visuals, they learned the gestures of the culture, they acknowledged the workers' expertise. Now, this respect and this effort shifted the culture profoundly. Productivity rose, rework dropped, and absenteeism decreased like never before. And it wasn't because of new machines, it was because of trust and relationship building. If your leadership team relies solely on hierarchy or title, you may find that trying to tell people what to do doesn't mean anything. People who feel like you care will go the extra mile for you. So it's not about your title, it's about you showing them that you care. Practical leadership means creating an environment where great work is expected, supported, and recognized. We must recognize our people. Here's another reality. 2 leaders must understand beyond their silo. You can't have everybody living in a bubble. Too often, leaders get trapped in their own cube, department, or shift mentality. But modern manufacturing requires a broader understanding. So, how does your role link to the supplier who ships the raw materials to you? How does maintenance or quality issues upstream cascade down to your line? What customer demands are shifting? And how should you change your priorities? You got to think outside of your silo or your bubble. If you don't understand the entire value stream, your decisions will be short-sighted and reactive. You must tighten output targets without realizing quality is suffering. because maintenance can't keep up, because the people can't keep up. You got to understand capabilities and limits, okay? Push for speed without understanding the support staff, and you'll end up with overwhelmed people and machinery that can't keep up with the demand. You must understand the whole process. A strong leader in this reality regularly steps beyond their traditional scope. You must build cross-functional relationships, and you must begin to share your understanding of what it takes with those around you in order to meet the overall goal. Here's reality number 3. Confidence and consistency create stability. Manufacturing environments can be volatile. It's up and down. Targets shift, raw materials fluctuate, equipment breaks down unexpectedly. But one thing teams can count on is steady leadership. You must be steady, rock solid. When leaders communicate with clarity, hold firm standards, and follow through on commitments, they create a sense of safety. Confidence here does not mean arrogance or inflexibility. It means clarity of purpose and calm under pressure. Consistency in leadership behavior builds trust because teams know what to expect from you at all times. When a leader's moods or decisions change on a whim, it breeds anxiety and disengagement. One of my favorite mentors once told me, you can't build a winning team by changing the rules in the middle of the game. We got to stay consistent, baby. That struck with me. It stuck with me forever. Consistent, confident leadership keeps teams focused and resilient. Here's reality number 4. Improvement is not optional. Complacency is the enemy of excellence. The manufacturing manufacturing landscape evolves quickly. Things are always changing. So whether through new customer expectations, regulatory changes, competitive pressures, you can't afford to rest on yesterday's successes. The best leaders make improvements their daily habit. It must be your daily habit to get better. Best leaders don't just address problems as they arise, they anticipate them. They plan and innovate. They see around the corner. It's more than reducing scrap. It's improving safety standards. It's developing talent. Continuous improvement must be a non-negotiable in your leadership role. Continuous improvement must be a non-negotiable. In one plant, a struggling department was hitting output targets, but only with excessive overtime. Overtime costs money. By shifting the leadership focus to real-time feedback, cross-training, and openly discussing waste, they reduced their hours worked by 20% in 1 week, while also increasing the output. The key wasn't technology, it was leadership creating new habits and new expectations. Here's reality number 5. Your title is not your credibility. A corner office or a flashy title means very little if your team doesn't respect you or trust you. Simple as that. Real credibility is earned day to day through competency, humility, and consistency. There's a story in a book about a young manager trapped by his title. He sat in an office far from the production floor, issuing edicts that he didn't even understand. He expected teams to fall in line simply because of his position, but instead, frustration grew, communication broke down, and results slipped. True leadership, I repeat, true leadership postures balance, confidence, and approachability. It's about being present, listening more than talking, and showing that you care about people, the people who do the real work. The people on the floor are really the experts. Here's reality number 6. Great leaders must learn to lead other leaders. If you want to run the whole show, this is for you. As your leadership span grows, your role shifts from directing hourly workers and coaching and developing supervisors and managers. This requires a new kind of skill, judgment, patience, and the ability to step back and ask, how can I stretch this leader to grow while holding them accountable? You can't micromanage mid-level leaders the way you did the operators. You can't just set them loose without support either. Where's the balance? Developing leaders requires balancing autonomy with guidance and teaching them how to lead through example, communication, and accountability. It's a balance. Here's reality number 7. Leadership must be sustainable. The final reality often goes overlooked. Leadership is a marathon, not a sprint. No leader succeeds long term if they burn out from stress, neglect, personal balance, or just lack of emotional resilience. You'll burn out quick. Sustainable leadership, however, requires emotional intelligence, EQ. You must know how to manage your own emotions and respond to your team's emotions constructively. You must protect your personal boundaries. You maintain your family relationships. You preserve your own mental and your own physical health. This is key. This balance isn't just good for you, though. It models the culture that you want your team to follow. Burned out leaders lead burned out teams. Simple as that. Burned out leaders lead burned out teams. Don't let that be you. Why does this matter? Why does this matter to operational leaders? If you're a plant leader, a site manager, an executive, a business owner, don't mistake this as a call just for better individuals. This call is for you to become a better leader, for you to develop a better system. Supervisors who can engage and develop their teams, these guys are going to win in the end. Managers with deep process and cross-functional understanding, leaders who set crystal clear goals, coach with skill, respect, and create accountability without blame, while fostering a culture where people can grow rather than just churn out replacements. These guys are going to win in the end. So consider this. If you're tired of turnover, if you're tired of inconsistent execution, endless rework, missed targets, low initiative, recurring personnel drama, it's likely your leadership. And that lack of development has created a bottleneck. It's not because your people are incapable, but it could be because they've been set up to fail through undertraining, lack of support, and inconsistent and or reactive leadership models. Many plants don't suffer from production problems first, they suffer from leadership development problems. Promoting the wrong person for the wrong reasons easily creates fragile leadership habits that crumble under pressure. Those behaviors then become normalized, like poor communication, unclear expectations, emotional unpredictability, weak coaching. It's all a part of a failed system. So fixing this issue calls for more than lip service. You can't just be a talker. It requires rethinking how leadership is identified, trained, coached, and held accountable on a daily basis. It's not just during annual reviews or generic development sessions. It means leadership development must be practical. It must be tailored to your plant floor and behavior focused. It cannot be check the box training or dusty manuals collecting interest. It must transform how leaders think, speak, coach, and respond every single day. Here's how you recognize if your plant has a leadership gap. These are all telltale signs, and they all shine a bright spotlight on the leadership gaps. Identifying these systems can help you diagnose the problems before they become crises. Walk with me. If your supervisors spend their time putting out fires instead of planning and preventing them, it's a leadership gap. It's a leadership gap. So watch closely. Are they constantly reacting instead of directing? Are they more focused on the drama than the discipline? This reflects a need for better leadership training and support. If employees perform only when they're being watched, you have a leadership gap. True leadership creates accountability and ownership that does not fade when the leader steps away. They should be performing better when your back is turned. If managers don't know the KPIs, but don't know the people behind those numbers either, that's a leadership gap. Even if you do know the KPIs, but don't know the people responsible to bring them into fruition, that's a leadership gap. You should know your KPI and the people responsible. Without relationship and engagement, metrics mean little more than targets to be feared rather than opportunities to improve. If accountability happens only when anger flared, not as a regular, respectful process, you have a leadership gap. Accountability must be consistent, fair, and clear, not emotional or arbitrary. If people fear bringing up problems because they expect blame or punishment, your leadership is failing. A culture of silence kills progress. I'll say it again. A culture of silence kills progress. If one department is improving, but other departments or support functions or adjacent teams are disconnected or out of sync, that's a leadership gap. Cross-functional leadership is crucial to synchronize overall efforts. You need all of your efforts, all of your operations synchronized. If your team is burned out, underdeveloped, and unclear on what success looks like, you have a leadership gap. Leadership development must clearly be exemplified in day-to-day activities. It must create clarity, it must cultivate energy and not drain it. And if the same problems keep cycling with new employees or different faces, but there's no real change, it's not coincidence. It's a broken leadership pattern. Recognizing these signs isn't about blaming individuals. It's about uncovering systematic weaknesses and taking ownership as leaders to change the trajectory. We must take ownership as leaders to change the trajectory. Here are the characteristics of strong manufacturing leadership. Strong manufacturing leadership looks nothing like the chaotic scene that many assume. It's not flashy. It's not about packing meetings full of buzzwords or barking orders. It's not about intimidating others or insisting on blind obedience. It is fundamentally about creating an environment where people know what matters. You must grasp the difference between looking good and being good. You must understand that your people expect to be treated with dignity and understand that their performance genuinely matters. Strong leaders create clarity. They clearly and simply communicate expectations. This means removing jargon and ambiguity so everyone from the line operator to the shift supervisor is aligned on the mission and goals. Everyone must be aligned. Uniformity, remember? Uniformity, bringing it all together. Here's another one. Strong leaders consistently connect daily tasks to the bigger mission and business impact. For example, explain how each unit built correctly and on time reduces customer complaints, how it maintains safety standards, how it keeps down costs and creates purpose and pride in the work. Stay close enough to that process to understand what's really happening. It's not just about reports, but through engagement, walking the floor, asking questions, observing rather than just delegating. It all displays commitment. We must be engaged on the floor, not just in the office. Actively remove barriers so that teams spend time adding value instead of fighting the system. Sometimes this means advocating for equipment upgrades. Other times it means streamlining paperwork or clarifying procedures. The leader's role is to clear the path. Coach your people according to their needs. Recognize their individual strengths and weaknesses. Not every employee responds to the same leadership style. There's a thing called situational leadership. Some require direct feedback, others require encouragement. Tailoring your approach maximizes your development. I'll say it again. Tailoring your approach maximizes your development. Learn your people and what they respond to. Sincerely praise good performance and correct output directly and respectfully. Correct poor output directly and respectfully. Recognition is a powerful force. Recognition motivates and reinforces desired behaviors. On the flip side, correction must be timely, discreet, and preserve dignity. Focus on solutions rather than blame. When problems arise, strong leaders ask, what can we do differently next time? Rather than, who caused this? This shifts the team from fear into a mindset of learning. Remain steady and dependable day after day, building trust through consistency. When leaders are unpredictable or reactive, people disengage. This kind of leadership drives tangible results. Your quality improves because people care more and they understand better. Output grows because goals are clear and waste is challenged openly. Retention strengthens because respect and development become part of the culture. And culture improves because confusion, fear, and mixed messages give way to alignment, confidence, and initiative. Alignment, confidence, and initiative. Start asking your leaders these hard questions. And here's the last challenge that I have for you watching me. It's my last challenge for you. If you want to transform your operation, begin shifting your mindset from just what is wrong with the process to what is the leadership process inside of this operation. Reflect and really ask yourself, what is the leadership process inside of this operation? How are my supervisors developed? How are my leads developed? How are my managers developed? How are my operators developed? Is leadership training a one-time hurdle or an ongoing craft? Do you have a deliberate path for developing frontline leaders that includes practice, feedback, and accountability? How are managers taught to communicate, especially under pressure? Do they have the tools and training to convey clarity, listen actively, manage their emotions under stress? Do they have the tools to do so? How do expectations from upper leadership translate clearly down the front line? Are objectives communicated simply and reinforced regularly? Or do they get lost in layers of management? What is the method for correcting poor performance? Who knows? Is the method respectful and effective? Does your plant culture support timely feedback without drama or finger pointing? How do you recognize and reinforce good work? Is recognition genuine and timely or rare and just an afterthought? How do you identify future leaders and stretch their capabilities? Is leadership development reactive or deliberate? How do you confront and change weak leadership habits? How do you change the habits that are not working? Is there coaching, mentoring, and accountability to raise the bar? Ask yourself these questions because whatever answers you find reveal the true culture of your plant and your path forward. I'm going to leave you with this. This is Allandis Russ. TOLA is an organization that is designed to create change, whether it's change in leadership, whether it's change in talent acquisition, talent discovery, recruiting efforts. We create change. We've written a book, Modern Manufacturing Leadership 101. It's about 105 pages, transforms leaders quickly. If you need more in depth, I've got a 4-day training where we can train up to 40 leaders at a time. We have workbooks, we have a full curriculum, and we have leaders such as myself. And for those who don't know my story, in 20 years, I went from an hourly employee to a plant manager. I've worked for Fortune 500 companies. I've went from the guy cleaning and cutting to the guy running the whole show. So I understand what kind of leadership, what kind of communication, what kind of trust and relationship building it requires at all levels. Proven. My partner, Zach, has transformed Fortune 500 companies, talent departments in the blink of an eye. So we've lived it, we've proved it, and we're back to share our results with companies like yours. Follow TOLA, check out opexleaders.com, and I've got all the links down in the description. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next video.